in Prague. There was approximately, I think there was about 30 people in the room.
30?
30 people in the room, I think. It was 30 or 40, and about 20 of those were just die-hard computer science geeks. They were in it for the love of the technology. And the other 10 to 15 people were there to take down governments and activists and crypto-punks and cypherpunks and open source people. And I came in as the first finance guy, I think. Before that, I was working in investment banking. I left in 2006 to, I was doing IPOs at the time. I was market making for a couple of years and then doing IPOs. And I decided to quit my job and work on banking reform, systemic risk in banking. This was 2006. There was no Bitcoin at the time. Fintech was just about becoming a word. In the UK, they invented peer-to-peer lending. The first company came out in 2005. I just happened to be talking about these problems in banking, and then this activist called Meetup, who was one of the early Bitcoin developers, invited me to come to Prague. And that's when I really started looking into Bitcoin and how it actually gave the first tiny little economic experiment it was at the time, where you could own your own money, you could spend your own money, and it was based upon sound monetary principles, where the supply was fixed, and as long as the demand for this Bitcoin outstripped the supply, it was going to become a deflationary currency, but that was very unclear at the time. It was very speculative. And I'm just amazed to see where and how far it's actually come now. I guess throughout that period I feel blessed because I was invited to that conference, and I was fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of the first investment wave. I think we're in our fifth investment wave in the sector that 5 times in a row have produced ultra high returns and led to a semi-bubble like environment. I'm not going to say we're not in a bubble, because we certainly are in terms of some of the things that are happening right now. But that's created a very unique environment, and there will be some creative destruction at the end of it. But there is, an incredible opportunity that exists today. It's as we go through, I guess, the Q&A, we can go through some of these things. But I'll tell you about 5 investment waves that I saw. The first one was when Bitcoin actually started to become a store of value. Now that took a few years to happen. It was very speculative. In the beginning, I'd say it was almost like a Ponzi scheme. It required more investment in order to actually sustain its growth. And as long as there was new investors coming in, but then the first user cases came through where people started to use it for the early things, and then there was some utility value. And Bitcoin became a store of value, and it was just the ultra high returns that it actually produced. And I still believe today that we are at the accumulation phase. The world does not know about Bitcoin. Everyone has heard of it, but no one knows what it does. No one understands the economics. No one understands that so many of them have been lost. There's only ever going to be 21 million, and every financial institution in the world right now is in a race for the cheap Bitcoin. So thank you, China, for giving everyone that opportunity to accumulate some of the cheap Bitcoins. Then we had the altcoin bubble that came next. So everyone was saying how rubbish Bitcoin was, and how it needs more privacy, and how it needs better governance, and how it can do all these things. And you had the next wave of investment where everyone was creating their own coins, and then eventually those started to get exponential returns as well. Then we had equity. I remember some of the companies, it was really, really hard to find investments. I believed in the sector. One of the first investments we made was in BitPay, and then Bitfinex, and Kraken, and Bitstamp. But there was very few deals at the time, and it was really hard to find them. And it was very uncertain whether they'd actually get there. People thought you were absolutely crazy for investing in these things. So you had the equity, and now we've started to see our first billion-dollar valuations for companies like Coinbase and Bitfinex and Kraken becoming the next unicorns, and they're only just getting started. Some of these exchanges, their biggest challenge right now is the 50,000 support tickets that they're desperately trying to hire people to answer right now. So sorry if you're one of those customers waiting for an answer. The entire industry is completely slammed. Then you had the next wave, the next investment opportunity, which was you had the Bitcoin, then you had altcoins, then you had equity, then you had the ICO wave, which we're in right now, which again, I remember investing, the first ICO I invested in was this little thing called Mastercoin.
I remember that, yeah, the first token sales, it was,
yeah,
crowd sale too, yeah.
And then there was Ethereum, no, before that there was MadeSafe, Storage, the first version of the ICO.
Sorry to interrupt you. For those who don't know, Storage raised like $200,000, right?
I remember going berserk because Storage raised $400,000.
And the whole Bitcoin, yeah.
Not 400 million, 400,000.
Yeah, and the whole Bitcoin talk was saying scam, 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 scam. What are they offering you? Like tokens? What's that? Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. And then we had the most recent wave, which was splits and forks. The whole industry thought that forks was going to be the downside of Bitcoin. And all of a sudden, you log into your wallet and you got all this free money. Just like a Bitcoin dividend, you could chop them in. It was paying a 10% dividend, and if anyone was at the conference, there was a whole community that builds off of these forks, and they're trying to pump the next version of Bitcoin, what they think is Bitcoin, and that produces a higher value for your Bitcoin dividends. So now, all you need to do is just hold your Bitcoin, and suddenly this brand new coin pops up, and it's producing higher yield than any other investment product that you're investing in at the moment. So you had Bitcoin, then you had altcoins, then you had equity, then you had ICOs, then you had the splits. And it's just been absolutely life-changing. So where are we today? Well, today it completely changed, and the reason this year exploded was because something happened which has lots of problems and lots of good things at the same time. And this was the first year where the industries had just said, screw you to all the VCs. This was a year when they just said, I don't need to explain what I'm trying to achieve, I just need to tell the community what I'm looking to do, and there's enough investors out there that actually understand what we're trying to achieve, and therefore it became a self-sustaining sector. So that took us up from that, below $1 million market cap right in the beginning to that above $100 billion market cap that we've achieved today. Now that will go up to $1 trillion and $2 trillion and $3 trillion and beyond. There's probably about 50% of that market cap that is absolute junk, rubbish, that will go nowhere. But that's the beauty of the market that we're in today, and the problem of the market that we're in today. It is absolutely insane where we are. Established companies like blockchain.info create a wallet that's being used by millions of people all around the world, get Richard Branson to invest, and they can only raise about 40 million in equity. And yet Bancor comes along with an idea, and they raise $150 million in a white paper for a pre-product, making blockchain.info look like one of the craziest, most stupid companies in the world. And that's just the nature of the market we're in. There's going to be huge corrections, there's huge problems, there's huge interesting things. But just like the dot-com boom and bust, there will be Amazon, there will be Google, there will be these companies that come out of it. There'll be some casualties along the way. I just hope that the industry doesn't take it too far. I mean, we had it at Bank to the Future. There was an ICO in China that created a phishing website of our platform and did an ICO with my face and my team all there, and we had nothing to do with it. They didn't even send me our referral fee or brand licensing fee or anything. I had 4 ICOs that had my face on it as a board of advisor. I would not touch them with a barge pole.
Congratulations with success.
And this is the nature of it doing. But what we're faced with today is the entire disruption of every single financial product that we've ever seen, going through this new model. And we've got government, this is the fact that China is banning this is really the first step that Bitcoin is becoming what we thought it would become. And so this was extremely bullish. This was extremely bullish news that the government is now going to test that Bitcoin truly is this decentralized, censorship-resistant store of value that all around the world they're building financial innovation on top of, and it's just created this wave of really interesting things. So maybe we want to get